to my channel. I'm James, and this channel is all about movies and TV series from all over the world, as you can see behind me. And today we're going to be doing 2 more exclusive reviews on my channel here. Today we're going to be deep diving into 3 Days of the Condor and Serpico 4K restorations and remasters on 4K Ultra HD. And this is another exclusive review on my channel that you're going to want to make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you don't miss out on any of this exclusive content. Now, these 2 are very special releases. Now, these are the SteelBook editions. We're going to dive into them. I'm going to tell you the specs on them, tell you if they're region-free, region-locked, go into everything on these, including my review score at the end of this. So make sure you stick around to the end so you don't miss out on any of that. We're going to go into what I think the quality is, what the comparison to like the Blu Rays in the US and other countries were, and tell you if these are worth you upgrading and getting these releases. There's a lot of exciting things about this that you're going to want to stick around for. We're going to start off with 3 Days of the Condor, and then we're going to go into Serpico later on. So we're going to do 2 different reviews here. Now, on 3 Days of the Condor, this one does come in a SteelBook case, which I really liked. Now, there is another edition of it that doesn't come in a SteelBook, and all of these I will have listed in the description section below. What of these that are available, I will list in the description section below. That way, if you want to go out and purchase these, it makes it nice and easy. You don't have to go and search for the French and German titles to try to find them. I'll have them all listed down there and have done the work for you. So, as in every review I do, you click that description section, it opens up. These will all be listed out there, the SteelBook editions and the regular of the 4K Ultra HD. Now, on this, it does come with a J card, and this J card's a little bit different than a normal J card. This one actually is a little bit hard to get off, and it's not open, it's actually sealed on the sides and says Blu Ray disc and 4K Ultra HD on the side, but on the front of it, it does have the title in French. Now, these were released originally from French and German territories, so these are actually ones that are available through Amazon US now, but they're not under 3 Days of the Condor, and they're really hard to find. It took me a long time to find out about these, but when I did, I ordered these right away to get them in for the channel. That way I could review them and tell you guys what my review score and things like that were about these. So I was excited to get these because I'd never seen either of these films originally in their original releases. So these were kind of a new dive for me as far as what I thought about the movie and then the quality and such. Now, I really do like Robert Redford. Always been a big fan of Robert Redford. And this one was one of those few that kind of skirted under the radar that I'd never actually seen. And this is an early Robert Redford film, and I actually did really enjoy the film. It's kind of a spy mystery, really, I mean, a thriller is what it is. I mean, you really at first don't kind of get what's going on, and it slowly builds over time. You start to figure out more and more of what's going on. Really well done story, really well done spy thriller. If you like those, you're really gonna like this. Now, one of my favorite Robert Redford films that I grew up, I went to see it actually with my dad about 3 or 4 times in theaters, was Sneakers. That one's more comedic, but I really felt like it had a lot to go for it that this did. I mean, there's a lot of things that are tied together that I feel like they have a lot of same story beats in them. Now, Sneakers was a bit more comedic, but when I watched this, I really did feel like they kind of existed in the same idea of the world being watched and spied on and things like that. And that's where I really felt like this movie was really good. I enjoyed it because I really enjoyed Sneakers. So if you liked Sneakers and a lot of other Robert Redford films, you're really going to enjoy this one. Now, it does have Robert Redford here on the SteelBook case. I bought the SteelBook editions of these simply because the SteelBooks were almost the exact same price as buying them not in the SteelBook, and whenever that's the case, I'm always going to buy the SteelBook because I do like it. Now, I'm going to take the J card off here. It does come with the 4K Ultra HD and the Blu Ray edition of this. Now, I will dive into this right away. The 4K Ultra HD disc that is in this is region free, so no matter where you live, US, UK, Germany, France, Australia, China, doesn't matter where you live, anywhere in the world, that 4K Ultra HD is region free. So that's the good news on this set. You are going to get it where it's region free and not have to worry about that. The Blu Ray though on this, the Blu Ray is region B locked. Now, it's not that big of a deal because on the actual 4K Ultra HD that's in this set, you do get like the audio commentary with the director, things like that in it. So you do get some of the special features on the 4K Ultra HD anyways, and the 4K Ultra HD of the movie is surprisingly gorgeous compared to the Blu Ray. And I mean, it looks really good. There's a lot of really surprising specs that are on this, but we're going to go through the case here first before we get into more of the specs here. Now, on the case, you take this J card off, and on the back, it does have, obviously, pictures, Max von Sydow, obviously Robert Redford, and then it goes through kind of explaining a little bit about it. It does have a documentary, and it does have a commentary track with Sidney Pollack, And Sidney Pollack's the director of this, and if you've seen any of his films, he's done a really great job with a lot of thrillers and mystery and things like that. So I really enjoy his films. Now, this one does have a commentary track with him as well. Now, it does kind of go through the specs, which I'll get to a little bit later, but I did just want to show you that J card there. Getting into the SteelBook here, now on this side, it does have 3 Days of the Condor in English on the side of the SteelBook. So this is another release that basically Studio Canal knew that those of us that live in English-speaking countries are going to import or want to buy. That's why it's available on like Amazon US and things like that. So it does say 3 Days of the Condor in English on the side of the SteelBook, which is really nice on the spine. Studio Canal, and then obviously the other cover art for the SteelBook, it's embossed. It says CIA, and it has the Condor on it with the actual like sniper scope sniping at it. And I did like that side of the cover. So it's kind of a split cover on it. That one side has obviously Robert Redford, the other side has the 3 Days of the Condor artwork. Now when you get inside here, this side's your Blu Ray disc, and then over here's your 4K Ultra HD, and then it says SteelBook on it. Now behind it, it does have just a little bit of artwork behind it. And it obviously has a picture of Robert Redford at the phone booth. And then back all put together, there's your 2 discs. Now again, remember, the commentary and things like that is on the 4K Ultra HD disc. So you get all of that included on that. So you don't have to worry about missing out on that. If you want to watch the Region B disc, you will need a region-free player to watch that Blu-ray disc. But the 4K Ultra HD is where you're getting all of your upgrade and where you're getting your huge amount of why this set is worth it. Now, I did like the SteelBook. If I'm going to recommend one, I would say get the SteelBook because price-wise, like I said, they're very, very similar in price. That the SteelBook is really, really nice on this. Very nice matte finish on it, and I did like the embossing on this side of it. Loved how it says 3 Days of the Condor in English on the side, even though this is technically a French and German release. And then obviously it has the picture of Robert Redford on the back. So really like the SteelBook. I think it's well worth it for that. Now, getting into the specs on what this set has in it. This set is a native 4K 2160p transfer. So it's a native 4K. They didn't upscale. It's actually a native 4K how they actually did this. Now, there was some very surprising things they did with this release. They gave this release Dolby Vision HDR, which in my opinion is the utmost of HDR representations. I think it's the best representation of all the HDR technologies out there. You actually have to pay a premium to use Dolby Vision on your releases, and Studio Canal went out, paid the premium to use that specific technology. This has HDR10 plus Dolby Vision. So if your player allows Dolby Vision, it will play it through your player and your TV if they do use Dolby Vision. So if you have one of those premium Blu-ray players and TV sets that does that, it will play with Dolby Vision. Otherwise, it does have HDR10 support on it, that if it doesn't, it'll switch it to HDR10 if your player doesn't actually use those technologies. But in Dolby Vision, mine plays it. I use a Panasonic UB820, which is the premium 4K player you can use, and it looked beautiful on that. The actual Panasonic, if I'm recommending one, I always put that down in the description section below what I personally use. That's the player I recommend for everybody to use to play these Dolby Vision discs. It looks beautiful. But Dolby Vision on this looked great. For this film having come out in 1975, it looked stunning with Dolby Vision. I couldn't believe how good it looked. And when I put the Blu-ray in and compared it to the Blu-ray versus this Dolby Vision representation on this 4K, because it's native 4K, I mean, the facial textures, the details in when he wasn't shaving and you could see his stubble, hair, the woman's hair throughout it, the clothing, you could see such details in the clothing that on the Blu-ray, they kind of got lost. Like Max von Sydow was wearing a plaid jacket and jacket suit, which actually on the Blu-ray kind of gets muddled out and kind of blends together a little bit, which was surprising. But then you get to the Dolby Vision representation of the full native 4K, and you could see every checker pattern in that and every line, and you could even see some of the fuzzes on it so detailed. So hands down, the 4K representation on this was gorgeous compared to the Blu-rays. And if you like 3 Days of the Condor, this is the only way to own it. And this is one of those exclusive releases from outside of the country that basically, this is the only way you're gonna get it. This is not being released in the US. The only thing that we've ever gotten in the US is a Blu-ray. And as far as I know, the reason why this was only released in those 2 other countries, France and Germany originally, now you can basically buy it, and like I said, that link will be below. But the reason why is Studio Canal could only get the rights to it to release it in those countries because streaming rights are owned of this film for basically a dumbed down 4K that they're having on some streaming services. And that's not anywhere close to this native representation. Those don't have Dolby Vision like this does either. So, If you want the ultimate representation of 3 Days of the Condor, it's only in this 4K Ultra HD release. Now, getting into the aspect ratio, comes in a 2.35.1 and looked great. It was the natural aspect ratio. They didn't cut anything down. Now, audio, you get it in full English DTS HD Master Audio 5.1. Sounded great, especially for, you got to remember, this is a 1975 movie that they did a great job with the full English DTS HD Master Audio 5.1. Crisp, clear, when they're shooting and things like that, you could hear everything. Glass breaking, just so crisp and clear. It did sound great on that. You do get English LPCM 2.0, you get French LPCM 2.0, German LPCM 2.0, and those are all on the disc as well. So no matter what of those languages you want to listen to it in, they're available on it, just on the 4K Ultra HD the same. Now, subtitles, great news for you. It does come with English, French, and German subtitles. None of them are burned in. You choose whether you want them, whether you don't want them. You can select any of them. And this is something I'm going to touch on real quick. Because this is a German and French release originally, it either plays the menu option in German or in French. That's because of streaming rights and only being able to get the rights basically for this in certain countries. So the menu on it is in French or German. Very easy to navigate, very simple. I'll tell you, you just go on there. It doesn't matter which you select. I select German because I know a little bit more German. So I select German, and it basically gives you the option for selecting to play the film. If you want to select the audio options, you can select that, and then it'll also let you know titles. Do you want undertitles? So undertitle means the subtitles, and you select on, off, os, and then you select which titles you want, whether you want English, German, French, or if you don't want them at all. And you can do that when the movie starts as well by just going in and selecting your audio options once it starts. It's up to you. But none of it's burned in. You can play it in English with no subtitles or play it in any other audio option with subtitles. So I loved that. And that's where I said them having it in English, 3 Days of the Condor on the side, absolutely love that. Because basically it's an English release that I don't know that we're going to get this anywhere else. Because my understanding is this has been out for about a year now. I just found out about it. And that's where I said I always try to, when I find out about these hidden and unknown releases, I order them right away, get them in. That way I can do these reviews on the channel to let all of you know about it. And that's why I always try to share this with all of my subscribers and all my viewers. That's what's so exclusive about what I do on this channel. So this one on the 4K disc, it does get a BD100 is actually the 4K disc. So plenty of room for the content. They did a great job with that disc and not over compressing anything on it. And that's why I think it looks and sounds so beautiful on it, especially with that Dolby Vision. The Blu Ray on this does get a BD50. That's pretty standard on that. So again, I wasn't in it for the Blu Ray. That's not why I bought this set. I wanted to see that 4K and it was well worth that side of it. Now, runtime, 117 minutes. So the original runtime. Obviously, there's no speed up or slow down because it's running at the original runtime. Everything's natural on it with a native 4K representation. Now, I like the movie. I think it's a great spy mystery, basically thriller about him trying to figure out why he's being targeted. And basically everybody in this office he's working for, the CIA, basically decoding messages, gets kind of wiped out. That's in the first like 5 minutes of the film. He goes next door to get actually a cup of coffee and some lunch. And basically the whole office gets killed by this basically team that comes in. You don't know who it is, you don't know why. He comes in and starts finding everybody shot and doesn't know what's going on. He goes on the run. So the whole thing is him trying to figure out what's going on, why he's being targeted, why everybody in that office was wiped out. All they were analysts of the CIA, basically looking at messages, decoding things. He has no clue what's going on. And it's a good CIA mystery thriller. If you like those types of films that Sidney Pollack did, this one's great. I think it's an absolutely wonderful film. I highly recommend picking it up and watching it if you haven't seen it. And I think that Robert Redford is phenomenal in it. Now, as far as my review score goes for this one gets a great 9.0. I loved it. I thought it was a great release. I thought the 4K couldn't have been done better for a film in 1975 with Dolby Vision. It really is a huge upgrade for this film. And if you already own the Blu-ray, you need to keep that until you watch this 4K. Put them side by side, basically watch one of them, put that old Blu-ray back in, and you're gonna notice how much of a huge upgrade it is. Now, I've been showing you screenshots from the 4K as we've been talking, but they never is going to do as good a justice as when you own it yourself. And that's something I've always talked about on this channel a lot. The screenshots on YouTube are never going to look as good as when you own it and you have a native 4K on your TV with a good 4K Blu-ray player. It will always look better in person than what I'm going to show you above. And that's where I said, because it's native 4K and I give you all those specs with Dolby Vision, you're really going to think this one's a stunner, and it's a great upgrade, especially because they did everything in English on the case anyways. Highly recommend this one. It's an exclusive release. It was released over a year ago, so we're not getting it in the US. Because of streaming rights, this is one I highly recommend picking up. Links down below in the description section below. 9.0. Let me know if you've seen the film. Let me know what you thought about it, if you even knew this one was released, because this one was a real surprise to me, finding out that this one was released on 4K, and I highly recommend picking it up. So make sure to start that conversation down below in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this review and you enjoy my videos, please consider giving this a super thanks. Down below, right below this video, there's a bar where you scroll across and there's a heart symbol, and I'll show you here what the heart symbol looks like, and that's a super thanks. That just lets me know that you really enjoy the content I put out, and that helps support the channel. All that money goes back into the channel so I can go out and get these exclusive reviews and bring these exclusive reviews and content to you guys on this channel. So as always, I appreciate all the super thanks and all the support all of you have given. Give this video a thumbs up and a like. Click that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and that bell notification. That way you're one of the first ones to get to watch these exclusive reviews that you're only gonna find on my YouTube channel. And that's what I do that's so special. Over the years that I've been doing this for years, and those of you that have been watching, I do tons of exclusive content that's only on my channel. And I go through and I get these, and some of the times they work, some of the times they don't. And that's why I spend my money to go out there and try these for you. And that's what's so special about these reviews. So please consider giving this a super thanks. That money just goes right back into the channel. And make sure to give this video a like and hit that subscribe button. And as always, I will have all of these linked in the description section right below this video. You click that description section, goes out to Amazon. That way you don't have to go searching for it, because these ones were really hard for me to find. So I made it nice and easy and put them right down in the description section below. And you can always follow me on my Instagram or my Facebook, which is just the name of the channel, In Search of Physical Media. And I give extra content on there. Sometimes if something doesn't work, I'll tell you guys, hey, it didn't work and I spent my money for it and it didn't end up working. So as always, make sure you follow me on one of those for extra content as well. And check the community section on this YouTube channel. There's always hidden content on there. I put extra things, sales, reviews, little things on there as well. So make sure you check the community section after you're subscribed. All right, we've got another big review to get into, so let's dive right back into this. All right, next up, we've got Serpico. And this is an Al Pacino true story mystery cop drama, and it very much is one of those true stories that, man, it's a great story to watch, though I will warn you on this one. This one is rated R for strong language, strong violence, and there is sexual content. So there is a scene that I skipped. That's up to you what you want to do with that, but there is a scene in it that I did have to skip. But it is got a lot of violence and a lot of strong language. And I kind of think that's part of the course for Al Pacino movies. It's kind of one of those things, you kind of get to know it as time goes on. And I will share with you a little hidden tidbit of something coming out here real soon. There will be Carlito's Way, which is one of my favorite Al Pacino movies. That will be coming on 4K Ultra HD SteelBook and regular edition later this year in October. And I'll talk about that soon in my top upcoming new releases that I'm going to do here soon. I do one of those about every month, month and a half, letting you know about some big hidden titles that are coming out. But that's one, just a little hidden tidbit. That's also another big Al Pacino movie that's coming out. That one I do love, and that's coming out on 4K as well. But getting back into this, it does have Al Pacino on the front here. I love it. It's in English. Another SteelBook. This one is another kind of like matte finish on it. It's got a little bit of a texture on it too around his face. It does say 4K Ultra HD plus Blu Ray. This is a full 4K restoration and remaster. This one does look pretty good, though there is some interesting things I found out when watching this compared to the original Blu Ray release. And I'll get into that here in just a little bit. Now on the side it's in English again. Serpico on the spine. Says Studio Canal in English. This is another German and French only release. Again, the rights are owned, I guess, in England and in basically the US. The streaming rights are owned by another company, so they weren't able to release it that way. This was released around the same time as 3 Days of the Condor, almost a year ago. So, and this is one that has not been released in England or in the US normally. This is only available through the French and German release because of those rights. So that's why, again, I am not a streaming fan. If you guys have watched the channel for a long time, you know I don't like streaming. And it's because of these things. It blocks certain releases and makes it more difficult, where I gotta go out and find these releases in other countries to get them, to test them, and then basically we can own them in the US, just like that other one. The 4K is region free. And on this one, the 4K Ultra HD is also region free. So I'll get that out right now. 4K Ultra HD is region free, plays in every region free player, plays in every 4K player, no problems whatsoever. There's no region lacking whatsoever on this 4K. So great news on that. Blu Ray though is region B locked. But again, I didn't get this for the Blu Ray set, though I'm kind of glad I had it in there just so I could understand what the difference was between them. But you do need a region free player for that Blu Ray, not the 4K. 4K is region free, which is what you're buying the set for anyways. So I do like the picture of Al Pacino with the sunglasses on the front playing the character of Serpico, but there's something that I don't know if you noticed. On 3 Days of the Condor, notice the sunglasses. It must have been a thing for that time period because this was released in 1975 and Serpico was released in 1973. So those big sunglasses must have been the cool look for back then, because you notice on both covers they both have a similar picture on them. Just thought I'd point that out because I did think that was kind of interesting. They both have the same like big sunglasses on them. But anyhow, on the back here, now it does have a J card, which this one's really flimsy compared to the one that was on actually 3 Days of the Condor. But this one's glued on here and I haven't taken mine off yet because when I started to, it ripped it and I didn't want to tear up the J card. So in this case, I did look underneath. There's not any pictures, just lines on the back of it. So I'm not missing out anything by leaving the J card on here. It does talk about Frank Serpico, the character. He's basically a police officer that does things slightly different. He ends up being a police detective and things and finds out there's a lot of corruption in the police department. And it's based on a true story. And this was nominated for an Oscar in 1974 and then also a Golden Globe. It does have a documentary about Frank Serpico that's 98 minutes on this. And Sidney Lumet, the director of this, does a behind the scenes for 20 minutes with him, and then another behind the scenes of Looking for Al Pacino, 30 minutes. And those are all in English, and it says them on English on here, just like the front cover and the side spine. Another release by Studio Canal that they knew we were going to want to own in English-speaking territories, so that's why they did it this way. So it's in English on there as well. Now, I'll get into the specs here in just a little bit, but I did like the photos on it, and it's more or less a hard-boiled cop story about Frank Serpico finding out about corruption in the police department in New York and the things that happened to him, and some of it's really tragic, sad, and what was going on, and him standing up for what's right. And I do like the story of it. So, for those of you that watch the channel normally, I always try to warn you if there is something in that, so that way you're not offended and say, why did he recommend something? There is a scene or two that I had to skip because it was something I didn't want to see, but that's up to each and every one of you what you do or don't think is okay to watch. So, getting into the inside here, it does have Frank Serpico on the front of each disc. Obviously your Blu Ray, region B locked, it says it on this, and this one is region free. Behind the SteelBook, it has a nice shiny silver look of the New York skyline and then Frank Serpico, Al Pacino's character, on the face of the back of this. So I did like it, and that's where another example of the SteelBook on this is about the same price as the regular edition. So in this case, I'm always going to get the SteelBook for that because the SteelBook is a nice collectible. And as always, I've been showing you pictures as we've been going along of the 4K. And the 4K looks nice, but there is something I want to talk about before we get into the details of this set for a minute. The one thing I did notice that Studio Canal did slightly different on this, and I don't know if that was intentional or not. They don't really talk about it in the special features, and I can't find much about it. But basically, on the 4K restoration and remaster they did on this, there is a slight greenish hue to this movie. Now, when I watched the Blu-ray didn't have it as much. Now, is it heavy and so noticeable? No, to me, the only way I noticed it was by watching the Blu-ray versus it, then I noticed it. When I did watch the 4K first, I did not notice it. And then I went and watched the Blu-ray and then I was like, they look slightly off. So when they did the 4K restoration remaster of Serpico, which did not have that in 3 Days of the Condor, but this one has a slight more greenish, it's just very light, like just a very like teal green, almost like just color saturation to it. It's not heavy, it's just slightly, and you have to watch the Blu-ray to notice the difference. That's where that will affect slightly my review score, because it was slightly, when you watch the Blu-ray you can see the difference. So I wasn't sure if they intended that, because I don't know which way it was supposed to be originally, because the original Blu-ray release didn't quite look that right. And that's where I said that was one thing I did notice. Now, the runtime of the movie is 130 minutes. Aspect ratio is 1.85:1. Audio, English LPCM 2.0 mono. It's a 48 kilohertz, 24-bit audio option in English. So it's the best audio option they have available for Serpico. Basically, Serpico's audio option, there wasn't anything they could do to upgrade it, is my understanding from watching special features and reading about it. That's the best they could get, so that is what's on here. You do get that same audio option, but in French and in German. It is a native 4K 2160p representation. So this is another example over the Blu-ray. The picture quality, like his beard and his hair, because he's really scraggly and things like that. Man, can you see every hair, every beard, you know, the 60s style clothing, the 70s style clothing, all of that is just, it comes across so great in this representation. It's just in certain scenes, like where it's daylight, where it would show like the sky just slightly had a tinge of, like just a slight green tinge. It's not dark and heavy. So that's one thing I noticed, that maybe that's the way it was supposed to be, but that is where the 4K on this does look different than the Blu-ray on that side. But the 4K 2160p native representation on this does look drastically better than what the Blu-ray had. Now, subtitles, you get German and French. So unlike the 3 Days of the Condor one, you don't get an English option for subtitles on this. Don't know why that wasn't, unless it was never originally made and never was available. I don't know. But on this one, you just get German and French subtitles. HDR on this, another big surprise. HDR is in Dolby Vision. Now it does have HDR10, so if you don't have Dolby Vision equipment that works, you will opt into the HDR10. But if you have Dolby Vision TV, Dolby Vision 4K Blu-ray player, this one's a stunner. Looks great. Now I won't say it looked as good as 3 Days of the Condor. I did think 3 Days of the Condor, because it didn't have that slight tint to it, did look better. So this one does have that slight tint, so that's where I said it does slightly affect the review score on that. But they both had Dolby Vision, and that does make a drastic difference on this, because compared to the Blu-ray, the Dolby Vision software makes this look great. Now, I did say the film came out in 1973, so that does affect the audio option why I think it only had LPCM 2.0 mono. So this one was obviously 2 years before 3 Days of the Condor. Now I did enjoy the film, but it is a harder film. 3 Days of the Condor is more of a mystery, thriller, spy thriller. This is more a hard-edged cop, basically finding out about corruption in the police department and fighting against it, and I mean him being shot at, shooting at people. It's definitely a more violent film. But my review score for it, it was a good classic film, and I did think Al Pacino was great in it. And Al Pacino usually is really great in his roles, and that's why a lot of his films, they're kind of an acquired taste. You either like him or you hate him. But I did like the film and thought it was well done. Now, my review score for this, because of the things that I said, it didn't have English subtitles, that dinged it just a little bit, and because of that slight tint to it that I noticed, that slight greenish tint, it does get an 8.3. That's still a good review score. It's not going to be a 3 Days of the Condor 9.0, but that's because I think that the restoration and remaster on that was just done better. There were some things on that I just thought looked better. This does have the German and French menus, just like the 3 Days of the Condor. So you have to choose between one of those two and then select your options through it, which is really easy once you figure out what they are. It only takes a few seconds. You can pretty well guess what the audio options are. They do say it in English and German and French, so it's easy to see that. I do like that it's English case. I love the SteelBook case, and if you're gonna get one, I think you should get both of these in the SteelBook case, because like I said, price-wise, you're looking at right around, I think these range between anywhere between 40 bucks up to about 50 bucks is what they've been going for. So it depends on whether they're on sale or not. And I'll have those linked in the description section below as always. And they're going down there, I said, between about 40 to 50 bucks. And it's the same whether you get the SteelBook or not. And so that's why I suggest getting the SteelBook, because to me, it's worth the SteelBook and I really liked the SteelBook. The upgrade on it was definitely worth it, though the greenish slight hue, let me know if you buy this and you see that in it. But it's hard because the 4K was still such a big upgrade over the Blu-ray that even with that slight tint of green, I'd still watch the 4K over the Blu-ray hands down. And that's where this has not been released on streaming services. I wasn't able to find this in full 4K on any streaming services anyway. So this is another 4K exclusive representation on 4K Ultra HD. And that's why I wanted to get these and do these reviews for you guys, because I really had not seen Serpico, and I love adding these classic films that have been restored and remastered on 4K because they make such a big difference when you get them on 4K Ultra HD. And this is the ultimate way to own it, especially because both these releases had Dolby Vision, and there's no way to explain to you if you don't have Dolby Vision on your Blu-ray player or your TV. Once you get it, there is a big difference between that and just regular HDR, HDR10. I really do feel Dolby Vision is the premium representation of HDR. And I was excited that both of these releases had that in it. And 8.3 is a great review score for this. Let me know if you've seen Serpico. If you liked the film, let me know if you enjoyed this, if you enjoyed the film originally. If you're gonna buy this 4K, I know there's a lot of you out there that love Al Pacino's movies, especially Serpico. So let me know if you're gonna pick this one up and add it to your collection. If you collect SteelBooks as well. I'd love to hear from you guys if you guys and gals collect SteelBooks, if you're gonna add these SteelBooks to your collection. I was really excited about both of these, and that's why I want to get this out as soon as possible to you. I always try to get you guys new content, especially these exclusive reviews that you're only going to get on my YouTube channel. I love bringing you guys all this content, just like I get excited when I find these. I hope you guys are excited, guys and gals, by all these exclusive 4Ks and TV shows and Blu-rays that I find that I get, and I try them out for you guys. So let me know if you're going to pick up either one of these, which one you're excited about. If you're going to get both of them, let me know if you've seen the films and if you're excited about them. I had a great time today, and I'm always excited to do these reviews. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a like for me, and consider giving a super thanks. I do appreciate all of your support, guys and gals. I've been blown away by it over the years, and I really do appreciate it, and I want to say thanks. The channel has been growing huge, and let's keep it going. If you know any groups to share these videos in, make sure to share these videos. Any friends you know that love these movies, share this with them. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already and click that bell notification. And as always, all the links for these will be listed in the description section right below. So if you're wanting to pick up either one of these releases, make sure to go down there, click through that description section. That does help support the channel as well. I had a fun time today, and I was really excited about these. I hope you were excited about these, and these were surprises to you as well. I hope all of you have a blessed day, and I look forward to the time we get to do this again real soon.